is NJCAA All Access. Today's September 28th, and I'm Zach McKinstry.
I'm Alexa Wesselman. Somehow, it's the end of September, which means fall sports are in full swing, which also means we're about a month and a half away from championships.
And those championships are getting impacted by the games that are going on right now. So let's start you with the junior college scoreboard and all the games that went on last weekend. The only ranked matchup on Thursday was a clash between 2-0 Copiah Lincoln and a 1-1 Jones squad in the MACCC South Division. An electric start had the Bobcats ahead 28-3 just 6 minutes into the second quarter, with 3 of those 4 touchdowns from quarterback DJ Smith. Smith would finish with 194 yards on just 10 completions and pick up 45 yards on the ground to aid a stellar Jones rushing attack, which finished just shy of 250 yards on 49 attempts. The Bobcats dropped the Wolves 42-32. Home's undefeated start came to a screeching halt after a masterful Ty Keys performance tallied 472 passing yards, 6 passing touchdowns, and a 65-17 win for number 7 EMCC. And number 5 Mississippi Gulf Coast puts up 55 on the road to move to 3-0. Moving on to Saturday, no Friday games on the slate, but we did have an enormous upset in the Southwest Conference. We talked last week about the big bad offense of number 3 Kilgore, but Navarro holds them to just 20 points and ekes out a 4-point win on the road. The Bulldogs could only amount 50 total yards and were shut out in the first half, but an inspired second half performance from Dane Jinch and the Navarro offense helped mount the comeback. Jinch finished with 277 passing yards and 3 total touchdowns, including what would be the game-winning score on a QB sneak with under 90 seconds to go. Kilgore marched down the field and had one final play from the 13-yard line, but it was incomplete, and the Bulldogs would hang on to beat the Rangers 24-20. That breaks the door back open for the top spot in the Southwest, as everyone except for 1-0 Tyler has at least one loss in conference play. Meanwhile, in the Jayhawk, Dodge City received votes in last week's poll, but couldn't pull off the upset against number 6 Snow in Kansas. The Conquistadors would start the scoring in the first quarter on a Cameron Thomas touchdown, but that's all the Badgers would allow as their defense tallied 4 sacks, 2 picks, and a forced fumble. Donovan Smith's fourth quarter passing touchdown gave Snow the lead, and the 1-2 backfield punch of A.J. Tillman and Spencer Lambert would add 8 more points late for a 15-7 victory for the number 6 Badgers. Number 1, number 2, and number 4 cruised to wins last week, but number 14 Garden City was shut out and upset 3-0, the final against Highland, a defensive gym in that game. And moving to Division 3, nothing crazy on the D3 slate after Nassau and number 1 DuPage lost their interdivisional games. Number 2 North Dakota SCS, number 3 Rochester, and number 5 Minnesota North Mesabi Range all picked up wins. Moving away from football, the top dogs of men's soccer at the D3 level, Dallas College Richland, lost a tight game against the number 15 Division I squad, Western Texas. In a D1 women's soccer battle of the Monroes, Monroe Community College came out on top 2-1 over the Mustangs. And in volleyball, Division III unranked Minnesota State upset the number 1 seed Century, and D1 number 10 New Mexico Military knocked off the number 3 Thunderbirds. Here's what's on the docket this week with Alexa.
All right, Zach talked about the top games from last week. Let's get into the top games for this week. We're going to start with D1 football. Number 4 Mississippi Gulf Coast taking on number 6 East Mississippi. Now, any Mississippi battle is one you want to watch, but this is obviously 2 top-ranked teams. NJCAA is undefeated at 3-0, and obviously they want to keep it that way. EMCC only has 1 loss, and their quarterback, Ty Keys, who we've mentioned a bunch on this broadcast, leads the NJCAA in yards per game and sits second in touchdowns with 12. So that's a game that you definitely want to watch. Moving on, we've got number 1 Hutchinson versus number 10 Butler. This is another game you don't want to miss. Hutch is the #1 team in the country for a reason, obviously. They're playing lights out and making it look easy. Their opponents haven't scored more than a touchdown against them this year. That's unbelievable. But Butler has an opportunity to prove that they belong in the conversation as well. And I'm sure Aaron Arnold will have some strong opinions about this game. We'll check in with him in a second. But that game also has the opportunity to shake things up a little bit. Let's take a look at a top-ranked men's soccer team. We've got #9 Angelina facing #19 Coastal Bend. Angelina currently sits at 4 wins and 1 tie, so they are obviously playing consistent, and their tie against a top 10 ranked Tyler proved that. Coastal Bend is looking to keep their ranking and add more W's to their list. Of their last 7 games, they've got 6 wins and 1 tie, so they also are playing very consistent. Keeping in soccer, let's see the D2 women's soccer games. #1 Holmes faces #8 Pearl River. Holmes is ranked #1, but Pearl River is also coming off a loss this week, so they are looking for a massive W that they could add to their resume for this season if they can take down the #1 team. Switching over to volleyball, D1, we've got #11 Trinity Valley facing #9 Blinn. Both of these teams are very solid. Neither has moved from their spots in the rankings, so this matchup could give Trinity Valley the momentum to move into the top 10 if they can pull out a W. Those are the top games coming up in the next week. Now let's bring in Zach and Aaron to talk a little more storylines in D1 football, and I know Aaron's going to have some strong opinions on some of these games.
Thanks, Alexa. A lot of exciting matchups coming up this weekend, but Aaron Arnold, let's start with an exciting matchup from last weekend. #3 Kilgore against Navarro. We might have given a little bit of a broadcaster's jinx after talking about that Rangers offense on the show last week, and Navarro goes into Kilgore, upsets the #3 team 24-20. But the big story of this game was the turnaround. Shut out in the first half with only 50 total yards. As a former coach yourself, how do you think Ryan Taylor addressed his team at the break to inspire 24 points and the come-from-behind win?
Yeah, that one was a surprising one. We went on last week and talked about how great I thought Kilgore was, and I don't know that we were wrong. I think they just really kind of took their foot off the gas in that game. They dominated in the first half, really only allowed, I think, 50 yards in a shutout. And then at the same time, you got to go hats off to Navarro. They obviously made some great halftime adjustments and were able to come out and put together a stellar second half. As far as what goes on in the locker room, I think at every level of football, making those adjustments at halftime is one of the biggest keys to the game. That really starts with having good assistant coaches that are up in the box, that have taken good notes, that have written down and documented what they're seeing. Those guys have got to be able to relay that back to you so that you can say, okay, here's the problems that we need to get fixed. Here's the things that worked really well. We want to stick with this. And then you also have to be able to speculate a little bit, because most of the teams that you're playing are going to make adjustments as well. So you got to kind of forecast a little bit. What are they going to do? What worked really well for them? They're going to continue that until we stop it. Where did we hurt them at? How are they going to adjust to that? So you've got to be able to make those adjustments. As far as what gets said to the team, every coach has a little bit of a different style, and every team has a little bit of a different personality. I think one of the hardest parts of being the head guy is just figuring out, what does my team need right now? Do they need the carrot? Do they need the stick? I certainly had moments where I went into the locker room and was pretty hot. I had moments where I went in and said, hey, everybody just calm down and we're okay. We would even sometimes meet as a coaching staff outside, and I would ask my assistant coaches, what do they need? And my assistant coaches would say, hey, go light them up. They need someone to go get after them. So I'd go in there and, give them the Bobby Knight treatment. And I think as a head coach, you got to be able to do that. I would, speculate Coach Taylor probably didn't go in there and sing Kumbaya. I would say he probably got in there and had some stern words, but whatever he said, you got to hand it to him. They made some good adjustments. He got his team fired up, and they came out and were able to walk away with a big win for that program. It was really impressive.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be on the bad side of Coach Arnold at Highland, but Coach Taylor, whatever was said in that Navarro locker room, it worked. Big second half, en route to the win. It completely shakes up that Southwest Conference. Every team in that conference has one conference loss right now, except for Tyler, who's 1-0. But moving into different matchups this weekend, let's start with a couple I want to hear your take on. EMCC, #6 in the country right now, against a #4 Mississippi Gulf Coast team. tons of implications for playoff, for conference. Ty Keys and crew has this EMCC team looking like the Miami Dolphins. They put up 65 on Holmes last week. And then MJCAA is 50 points a game through their first 3. So what do you got in this one? What do you think?
Well, it's a clash of the Titans. I mean, you've got multiple national championships between those two organizations. You got number 6 in the country, number 4 in the country. You've got maybe the best junior college quarterback in the country, Ty Keys. He's throwing it for 355 a week. He's actually second in total TDs with 12, but keep in mind, they've played one less game than everyone else. So touchdowns per game, he's probably number 1 in the country. Gulf Coast is number 4 in the country with rushing yards per game. They're averaging almost 240 a week. And Gulf Coast is stout on defense. They've only given up 15 yards per week. So I think you get 2 different styles. You get a team with, a dynamic quarterback that's a little bit more of a throw it around the yard type of team. You get another team that's a little bit more of a pound the rock and play really good run defense. You get into games like that with 2 big-time teams, and, man, anything can happen. My first thought was, well, what's the weather going to do? If you get a rainy day, big advantage for Gulf Coast, who wants to do what they do. If it's sunny and beautiful, you probably go advantage East Mississippi. I checked the forecast. It says 75 degrees and sunny at kickoff. So I like East Mississippi in there, but Mississippi Gulf Coast is a tough team. I'd expect that one to be a big-time dogfight.
That's going to be a fun one for sure. And then another one I thought would intrigue you is the matchup of number 1 Hutch heading to El Dorado, Kansas to take on a now number 10 Butler team, who you assume is going to be a sold-out crowd at Big Products Veteran Sports Complex. They're honoring their 2003 national championship team. Is there a world where you see Butler upsetting the number 1?
Absolutely. I'm on record. Hutch is number 1 in the country. I love Hutch. I think they're the most talented team on paper. Hutch is more talented than Butler. Hutch should win the game on paper, but games don't get played on paper. And I can assure you, Butler is going to be up for this game. They're not scared to play Hutch. They're going to be fired up. That place is hard to win at. They call it Buco Magic. I've gone there and played. I've gone there and coached many times. The ball doesn't bounce your way off that turf very often. It is a difficult place to win. I've known Bryce Veneri, the head coach at Butler, since he was a player at K-State. He's done a fantastic job there. I mean, they're going to be fired up. They're going to have those guys ready to go. But again, Hutch has got those dudes, and they're going to be a handful. So I think the key for Butler is they've got to get off to a good start. They've got to get some momentum and establish some confidence early. They think right now they can play with Hutch. If Hutch comes out and makes it clear that they can't, it'll be a long night for Butler. If Butler gets out to an early lead and they know, okay, we're in this game, it'll be a dogfight to the end. If I got to pick a winner, I got to go Blue Dragons because I still think they deserve to be that number 1 team. But don't sleep on those Grizzlies. They're tough at that place. It's hard to win in there.
It's going to be a raucous environment for sure, and that Butler special teams has made the difference in a couple of games already this season. So be on the lookout for those 2 games. Let's move into the rankings. Obviously, a little bit of the shakeup with number 3 Kilgore falling to 8. What caught your eye about the rankings this week?
I like the rankings this week. I didn't have any issues. I didn't see anything that was too controversial. Already said I still am big fan of Hutch at number 1. I think they deserve that. I like Iowa Western at number 2. I think those 2 teams right now to me stand out. They're on a slightly different level. They're going to play each other late in the year, so we're going to get that all sorted out. But to me, those are the clear-cut 1 and 2. I'm not sure that I love Iowa Central at 3, although it's not a terrible the schedule they have remaining is going to sort that out. They're at Iowa Western on October 28th, and whatever questions we have about Iowa Central, they're going to get answered. Still think Snow's maybe a little high. Close win over Dodge City. To me, that was a game Dodge should have won. They let it get away. I did love to see that Dodge is back in the rankings now after receiving votes. And Snow College, again, they're going to have a chance to sort out their season as well. They've got a game at Iowa Western in 2 weeks. And to me, Snow College has to win that game to be in the mix for the playoffs. If they can't knock off Iowa Western, they'll be at least a 2-loss team, and they don't have a quality win for me to be considering them as a playoff team right now. But outside of that, I thought the rankings were pretty solid this week, and I think that whoever's voting has done a pretty good job of putting the right people in the right spots.
A lot of exciting matchups coming up this weekend and a lot to be determined as we move into the middle of the season. So thank you, Aaron. Appreciate your time as always, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks for having me.
All right, guys. Aaron, thanks so much, as always, for joining us on the program. We're going to take a quick break, but coming up, Zach is going to talk with Addie Gay and tell his incredible story.
have a little birthday message for you from someone too.
I heard you really love basketball. You're a good shooter and a good dribbler. Happy birthday, MJ, and I hope you enjoy your day.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Welcome back to NJCAA All Access. Now, most of us would complain if we had to move from one city to another, but imagine if you had to move from one continent to another. That's exactly what one student athlete had to do. Zach sat down with Addie Gay to tell his unique story and success in soccer.
All right, well, we appreciate you being with us. Congratulations on being the Student Athlete Spotlight this week, and obviously a lot of accolades your way over the last couple of years at BMCC. So start by telling us, from Senegal to New York City, what went into the decision to go to BMCC?
Oh, so when I came here, I didn't know like how to get to school. I used to, work part-time, and then I met a Senegalese friend who was going actually to BMCC, and then, I wanted to go to school. So I was talking to him, and then he told me, you could come visit my school, and then if you like it, I could help you and then show you how to register and stuff. So I went there, and then I liked it.
How long did it take you to mesh with your teammates, and did they help ease that transition a little bit?
When it comes to soccer, I'd say the first week you start talking with everybody because we're doing the same thing. So we got to find a way to connect.
That's good, and I'm sure that bond went a long way in determining the success on the field as well. In the classroom, why engineering science? What was the story behind that major?
I always loved physics and math as a kid. And, in the beginning, I didn't really know what to do. So I was just taking a lot of classes regarding math and physics. My dad is electrical engineering too. So I used to see him, and I used to see him do a lot of work. And then I think it's an interesting field. So I was like, I'm going to try this and see.
Well, yeah, it's worked out for you, and you've been unbelievably successful in the classroom and on the field, racking up the Conference Player of the Year, the All-Region First Team, scoring the game winner in the CUNY Championship last year, and then becoming the first Panther to be named CSC Academic All-America. Which award are you most proud of?
The last one. When I was trying to go to BMCC, I'm kind of like competitive, so I didn't care. I just wanted to break one record, right? I didn't break the scoring record, but at least I did something new in the school, Yeah, I'm proud of it. So, and then I'm a type of person, if I do something, I want to go like 100%. I don't want to look back and be like, I wanted to do more. So I always try to do my best when it comes to whatever I'm doing, For me, personally, I think whoever do the most work will get the best result. That's how I see life. And then I've seen it time and time again.
We want to thank Addie so much for joining us and sharing a little bit of his experience and everything that he's had to overcome to find success. If you want to watch the full interview, you can head over to the NJCAA YouTube page. It'll be posted there. We're going to take another break, but on the other side of that, we've got rankings and everybody's favorite junior college gems.
Intensity fuels these champion student athletes to greatness. Zurich Insurance is proud to be the official provider of student athlete insurance for the National Junior College Athletic Association. Throughout the highs, we cheer along to their screams of victory. Throughout the lows, we support them through their tears of defeat. Zurich Insurance, helping student athletes play the sport they love.
The future is threatened by enemies often unseen and unexpected. In the midst of an uncertain and evolving world, the need for Marines to defeat these shifting threats is critical, because the need to ensure stability for our nation has never been greater. When there are battles to win for America's future, there is one constant: Marines.
Welcome back to NJCAA All Access. You heard Zach and Aaron talk a little bit about the D1 football rankings, so we're going to cover the rest of them. We're going to start with D3 football. Now, the top three didn't change, but we have a new school that popped up on the rankings. Ranked 5th, Lewisburg College. Welcome to the leaderboard. All right, switching over to soccer, looking at the D1 rankings, there is absolutely no changes. You have to go all the way down to 13th in order to see any kind of switch up. Those 13th and 14th swapped, and then we've got a couple other new names that popped in. 17 Murray State, this is the first time that they're ranked this season, as well as number 19 Coastal Bend. Looking at D2 men's soccer, a little bit of change up in the top 10. Last week, number 7 Johnson County fell to number 9, which moved up Parkland College. They were able to move up to the 7th spot, and Mesa College was ranked 10th last week. They're now ranked 8th. And also take a look at number 10 Mineral Area College. Last week, they were ranked 18th. Good for them. They're now ranked 10th. Keeping with men's soccer, looking at the D3 rankings, there's no changes until you get to 10th. Ulster County Community College, hitting the rankings board for the first time this season. Keeping in soccer, but moving over to women's, looking at D1, Barton Community College is ranked 7th. Last week they were ranked 12th, so they made a big jump. And as well as Arizona Western, they were ranked 11th before, they are now ranked 9th. D2 women's soccer, a big change at the top. Previous number 1 Phoenix moved to 2nd, and Holmes takes over the top spot. In D3 women's soccer, you've got a little bit of change. Ocean County and Herkimer College. Last week they were ranked 6th and 8th. They have moved down the leaderboard to now 8th and 10th, which gave everybody a bump up. And moving into volleyball, let's look at the D1 rankings now. Number 3, New Mexico Junior College last week, they fell to number 10, as well as who was ranked number 10 last week, New Mexico Military Institute, they moved up to 7th. So a couple of big changes in the top 10 in D1 volleyball. In D2 volleyball, Pensacola State moved from 12th into the 9th ranked spot. Lincoln Land, they were ranked 15th last week. They're now moved into the top 10. And a couple of more sliding up and down the further you go down that rankings board. In D3 volleyball, previously top-ranked Century College falls to number 4, which gives the number 1 spot to Dallas College Eastfield. All right, that does it for this week's rankings. Now, let's send it over to Zach and get into one of the more fun segments we have on the show.
Thanks, Alexa. And a lot of those rankings were impacted by top plays that we saw last week. So let's go ahead and show you our junior college gyms this week's edition. We start with Division I women's soccer with Hill and Butler, a clash of top 20s in Kansas, and a perfect cross here from Braley Burlingame connects with Danny Serta, who turns on the burners and rifles a one-timer into the back of the net. Hill would draw Butler 2-2, but what a job by Serta to catch up with this one and send a screamer into the net en route to the draw. Let's stay with soccer. It's Lackawanna in men's soccer taking on Sussex County in the split baseball soccer field. And how about this cross to connect with the head of Anthony DeAngelis, and Lackawanna would put that one away with an easy header into the back of the net to add to their lead, up 3-0 in the first half, and Lackawanna would go on to win that one fairly easily. Let's move to football in Mississippi Gulf Coast. It is Trey Hall, the running back for MGC. And how about that performance as he streaks into the end zone and just crosses the goal line for 6. going through every stage of the washing cycle, spinning, washing that defender's jersey, and then heading to the end zone for another score. Mississippi Gulf Coast is looking really good right now after putting up 55 points in that game. Let's stay in Mississippi and EMCC with the Lions. It is Ty Keys connecting with Cam Wright. That's a connection we have said a few times on junior college gyms already, and it probably will not be the last. Those two are dynamic playmakers for the Lions down there in Mississippi, and a stellar throw across his body for the long touchdown en route to an EMCC win. And we close out with soccer at the NCAA Division I level. It's Hawaii, and how about that save by Sophie Augustine, an alum of JUCOs at Seminole State in Oklahoma, and the quick reaction to get the save there en route to a Hawaii win.
Another week of fantastic top plays across the NJCAA, and another week that we get to spotlight some student athletes. So keep sending us your top plays at NJCAA Network.
Can't wait to see you on social media, and can't wait to see you back here a week from today for the next episode of NJCAA All Access. Thanks for joining us.